Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new flip-through video. I am showing part 3, yes, 3, of my Europe album from 2022. And in this section, I start at Bruges in Belgium, and I go all the way through that, Lille, France, and then we actually ended up that night back in Brussels. So little mix of things there, but I think it's a good mix. So here's where we start out. This is one of the more unusual page protectors. It's a 4x12 from Close to My Heart with all 4x3 pockets. And it's a page protector that's a little bit tougher to use, but I like the challenge of it because sometimes I do have photos like this where they're just really nicely suited to that particular size, and I don't need a full 4x6. So I do appreciate that they make this. On this side, I have something kind of very opposite from this. This is a 6x12, but really it's a 9x12 because it has a flip out. And I had to doctor this myself. This was a DIY one to get it to be what I wanted because no configuration I've seen comes with these sections on the flip out. So I just basically took a 9x12 protector and I made my own. So there's the inside where you can see that lovely building. Scooch over a little bit, and then here's the flip out. So I had quite a bit of journaling there, a little acrylic piece, and then the top flap there. And then on the back side of this protector, you can kind of see here, I kept that just the same 6x8 and a 4x6, which worked out very well. Very minimal embellishments there, just one phrase label. That's it. And then on this side, this is always a challenge for me. These are 3x3 pockets, and I actually use 2 of this style in this flip through section. So I'm giving myself a round of applause because they're so hard for me to use. And I'm doing well to kind of get through my stash and get them used up. This is the back side here from another stop we made in Bruges, and this was a little chapel. It was inside this particular place where we stopped. And this is the outside, and it was a lovely fall day. We really lucked out. Lots of nice yellow leaves like on the ground that you could walk through, and then they make that lovely crunching noise. And then with the beautiful color, it was just really a perfect day. And then here I just chose to insert this postcard. I think this is from Everyday Explorers. I want to say, I think it came in one of the mini kits that I had. I'm pretty sure. Don't swear by it, but I'm pretty sure. And I loved the saying, and the colors worked well here, so I used that. And then this, I used a full 6x12 to put this together with an enlarged photo, and then cut this one down a little bit to make it all fit in there. And then I used some of my digital phrase files that I bought that are French. So I have one there and one there. And then on this side, I wanted to have another enlarged photo because I loved this building. The architecture is just so cool. It's one of my favorite things about Belgium. I just love the houses and the buildings. And then I had this smaller one. I wanted to use those both. So got lucky there, and I could fit them in with a little tag, some splattering. Not anything too crazy, but I like the way that it looks. And on this side, we were just kind of walking around the city. So these are just like a random alleyway, a little bridge over the water. But again, I love the look of this. How often do you see buildings like that are that old, made in that style? Not very often, unless I'm in Europe. So I gotta showcase it. And then here I included some photos that I actually took on the water. We decided to do a river cruise, or canal cruise, not river, canal cruise while we were there. It was only €11, which I wrote about there, and I feel like that was a steal for what we got because it was about an hour. We got to go very slowly through all the canals around the city, and it's quite interesting to look up from that viewpoint and see the buildings from that vantage point. So I'm really glad that we did it. So if you're ever in Bruges and you have the opportunity and the time to do it, I highly recommend that you do. And then we also went to Church of Our Lady, and you can see all the lovely things here. And there's a very famous sculpture in here, the Madonna. But The bummer about this is they purposely have it like off to the side in an area where you can't see it just from the main area. You have to pay to go in and see it. So they block it on purpose. And we just didn't have time really to go and do that, but I know it's there. If I go back, I probably would, but really seeing that altarpiece in Ghent previously was the like top thing that I wanted to do. And so having done that, I was like, you know what, I'm okay with not paying the extra funds to see this thing while I'm here. And then again, I have just some photos randomly around the city. So there's us. We each wanted one kind of on this bridge overlooking the water here because it was just insanely picturesque. I mean, I feel like everything in Ghent and Bruges is picturesque. So if you go there, you won't lack for photos because it's amazing. I mean, look at this building right here. Kind of crazy. And then look at this building. I just fell in love with this thing. I love the style. I mean, yes, it is very, very ornate. And does it need all that decoration? No, but I'm glad they did it because it's stunning. So I just took some pictures of that, but it wasn't enough to do a full page really. And so I just did a 6x8 insert. And then the same is kind of true on the other side. I really had just this one, but it didn't really work to put it in any other way. So I just used it on a 4x6. And then I had this card laying around. And I'm like, what else am I going to use it for? Might as well use it here. And then on this side, this is another one where I had to DIY it to get what I wanted. So it's kind of opposite of the other one, where this one I wanted the 3x8 on the bottom, not the top. So I had to do a little work. Oops, I skipped this insert. I apologize. I forgot I had this little one sitting on top. It looked like it was part of the other page. You can see that's vellum. Well, I don't know if you can see it. There's writing on there. It's a scripty font on top of the vellum in white there. If you see it close up, you'll notice it more, but I really like that. It's subtle, but it toned down the craziness of this pattern. A little bit anyway. All right, now back to the DIY page protector. I'm going to scooch this over so we can see the flip out. There we go. So again, I had large photos I wanted to use, but this one was actually an 8x10. And so I had to get a little creative with how was I going to make that work. So I just cut this one along that line, used it across both, and then the rest are just singles. And then I had this lovely 3x8 insert card that matched really well. So actually this one wasn't that hard to put together. And I should say at this point now, this was back in Brussels. So we left Bruges, came back, and where we came back to the city was really close to here. And so we're like, well, it would be stupid not to walk over there when it's all lit for the night and see it. And it was amazing. So here's another shot from Grand Place at night. And I just used this card, did some ink splattering, and it showed up really well on these darker colors. So I was super happy about that. And over here, we were so exhausted from the day. We did so much walking. I think we walked like 9 miles, 8 or 9 miles, I think, between those two cities. And we were exhausted. And so we decided, you know what? We're just grabbing pizza somewhere near the hotel and taking it back to our room. We didn't even eat in the restaurant. We took it to go. And you know what? That was perfect for us. We just like scrolled our phones after we ate whatever and went to bed. And that was the end of that night. And the next day we were off to Lille, France. We had booked tickets on the high-speed train. And when you go high speed between Brussels and Lille, it is only 35 minutes because it's not that far over the border into France. So that was perfect for us. We didn't even have to get up super early because we knew it was only going to take 35 minutes. So that was an awesome choice. And then here I talked a little bit about that and just showed like the outside of the train station there, little chipboard piece. And then on this side I had, I think it's from Practical Scrapper, I had a set of cards that were European based and they had a picture of France in there. So I thought, well, that's perfect. I'm going to use it. And then I will just use a puffy dot to mark where Lille is located. So that's what you're seeing there. And then again, these stickers just happen to match really well with the green that was in here, that kind of seafoam green. So I lucked out there. Here is another specialty flip out layout. So I've got my 6x12 here, and then I've got the extra over here. These buildings were just so gorgeous in Lille. That French architecture, gotta love it. And then I wanted to use an acrylic piece that I had, and these are, a lot of them were French phrases, not all, some were in English, but mostly French. And so I wanted to include that, since, you know, in Belgium, it's kind of half and half. In Brussels, they definitely predominantly speak French, but once you kind of get away from Brussels, like in both Ghent and Bruges, there are a lot of Dutch speakers. So it's kind of both. But in Lille, it's obviously probably 95% French. And here we have just some buildings around town. This was one of the shopping squares that we went through, and we did do a little shopping there. And then this is the front of the Opera House, which was gorgeous. And then this same vellum that I had before where I said there was white writing, this is the same thing, but it's in black. So that gives you an idea. If you weren't able to see it, it looks just like this, except it's white print. And then over here, I actually changed this up a little bit. When I first put this together, I didn't fill in anything for the hole that showed on the tag. I had just left it. So I decided to put a red one there. And then I added this. I had left this blank because I just wasn't sure what I was going to do there. I wasn't sure, was I going to double journal or what? And I happened to find this chipboard piece, and it seemed very French to me because they have a lot of cyclists in France and also the Netherlands. Not so much in Brussels, I didn't notice it, but some. And so I figured it was pretty common to that part of the world. It would work there. Now we are moving on to the market area. I'm going to move this down just a little bit. There we go. The little market area that we found, it was like a flea market. It was actually in this open area right here, that courtyard. And we thought it was super fun. They had all these Disney books in there, and then a bunch of games and things. And to see their French titles as opposed to what we're used to was just, it really makes you realize, like, yep, I'm not at home. I'm in a different country where they speak a completely different language. So that was a fun moment for us. We enjoyed that. And then over here, oops, I just realized I threw this in here and didn't actually put it in the pocket. Let's get that in there. I hope I don't have that anywhere else. I don't remember. If I do, oh well, we'll just put that in there and move along. Every time I think I'm really done, I tend to find stuff where I'm really not done. I forget journaling or something happens. So if that happens on any of these other pages, I apologize. I will be honest and say I don't always do my journaling right after I finish a page. Sometimes it sits there. I forget to go back. Does that happen to you? And sometimes it's because I'm just like, I don't even know what I want to say here. Sometimes it's just like, hey, I need a quiet, so I can't write it out right now. It's a multitude of things. If that happens to you, let me know. I don't think I said on the other page, but this is St. Maurice in Lille. It is absolutely stunning, as you can see. Look at all that amazing stained glass. This is one of the most beautiful churches I've seen in my life. So again, if you're ever in Lille, France, go there. It's right off one of the major squares after you get off and walk into town from the train station. So pretty easy to find. And you know what? It kind of looms big on the square. You can't miss it. And then these are just more photos from inside. I used this paper again because I had a chunk left. And I thought, well, this is pretty ornate. When else am I going to use it where it's really going to fit the theme? So I decided to use it here. And I think it actually works really well with like the close-up of the carvings and things on the pulpit. It's just very ornate, and I feel like it works with the tone. So here's another layout inside St. Maurice. And I did have a set of cards with different French phrases, like that one back there that said bonjour, and then there were some other ones. And then this one I wanted to use because it says magnifique, and it is. Look at this. And the color here matches with what's in the pillars. So how could I not use it, really? And then once we were done at St. Maurice, we were on to the art museum. So that's what you're seeing here. I have a little bit of bad glare here, but you can kind of see the outside of the building, and this was the entry where we came in, and it was fabulous. And so I did do a little bit of journaling there about that because it was just so stunning right when you walk in. And I remember thinking like, ooh, if this is the entrance and this is what we're in for, it's going to be great. And it was. So here's just some photos from another area. And I will say I really had to cut back on what photos I used here. I probably could have had half the album just be this museum. We spent several hours there. Everything was amazing. It was just that kind of a museum. So I really talked myself out of it and cut back. I did decide to use this map. And it folds out like this. The back side is all in French. And so I wanted to make sure that I showcase the English side so I can actually read it and other people can actually read it. And I have to say, I used one of the little strips from Citrus Twist, and this washi was not on purpose. That was to cover an accident. But hopefully it doesn't look like it when you see it. I was in a very low light setting when I was doing this, and I didn't realize that I didn't have the clear part lined up correctly with the edge of the brochure. So there was a big chunk there where the sticky part was still like open to the air, and it would have caught on everything every time I turned it. And I was like, okay, I'll try to pull it off. Absolutely not. It started to rip. So I thought, well, what can I do to cover it? I just grabbed a strip of washi and just covered it up. The sad part is it does cover up the P here, that you can't see it, but really you're not going to look at that part because you should be folding it out this way. So I figured it was okay to do that. And you know what? It kind of looks cute. So here's that other page that's all 3x3 pockets. These are all photos from the sculpture gallery, which was incredible. It was basically a hall all on its own, and you could just walk it from one end to the other. It was insane in a good way, but still insane. And this was from another area that had like some ancient coins, more medieval type stuff, as you can tell. And then this was just a dome in one of the rotundas. You know, we just don't make things like this in America. This is definitely European. And then of course they have a large impressionist area, so we had to go through that. And I love the fact that I got to use more purple, that they had the gallery walls painted purple. These are my people, apparently. And then when we were finally done at the museum, we walked from there to this arch, and in between there it was just, you know, kind of basic city streets, beautiful buildings. And this is actually their city hall building. So, and then you can see they were flying the Ukrainian flag there too, along with the French flag, to show support. So that was kind of cool. I wanted to get a picture of that. And this acrylic piece, I believe I got that from Rita when I bought the album, because I knew I was going to be in France. And then here is the triumphant arch here that we were looking for. And then on the other side, I just tell a little bit about it. And then they had this lovely garden area, and it was still blooming, even though it was mid-October. So we got really lucky there. And then lastly, here we are after we got back on the high-speed train and came back to Brussels. We had dinner and drinks, and I actually used a template that I bought, a digital template, and loaded it into Canva, and that is how I made this. So all of that was done digitally, except for this. This little piece of chipboard is the only embellishment, otherwise everything was digital. And that's the end of the part 3 flip through. One more section to go, so I hope you'll stay with me for that. Thanks for watching.